up is Derek.
Hey, Rich, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
I'm actually, if you could pull up pins right now, that's what I'm looking at. I was trying to find something different that we
Okay.
haven't spoken of yet. I know we talked about it in the morning meeting.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. So
So,
what?
kind of pulling up pins right here at 3:30 in the afternoon. There's a couple things that really stick out to me. One, it hasn't even met its daily range yet, and the volume on the daily is about four times exaggerated of what it usually does, trading 52 million shares a day. So, the puzzle in itself doesn't fit. Been watching the stock throughout the day, and I know it's hit multiple levels with selling, and it's had several pull-ups. So, it had selling at 68.50 in the pre-market. We saw it pull up to right below 70 and trigger back down. Since then, we've had selling at almost every single level. And just now, about 15 minutes ago, we had a really nice short position here at 66 at the low of day. And then a bunch of, so I probably should have been looking for a number three trade because the
Okay.
66 was way out of print personality, but I didn't take that trade just kind of being busy and was paying attention in class. So here, all I'm waiting to do is to look for the number two trade. So we know we have those monster bid prints at 66. And so I'm just waiting for some added confirmation of seeing short term selling coming down and a trigger back down to the downside. I think a logical price target here is 65, just considering the range of the stock and the level of 65. And then whenever you look at 65 on the daily, that's a pretty big resistance level. So that's what I'd be watching for the rest of the afternoon and keeping that on my list. But I do think we need a change in personality in terms of just some really strong volume to come in and consistently go 300K with selling to really be able to get below those bid prints this afternoon.
Yeah, that's pretty much perfect. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's pretty on point.
I
Yeah, good. That's good job. So I do have a question for you though. So what's our percentages? Are up,
well,
down, and consolidation?
I want to say that the it's about a 70-30 split between upwards and downwards. Because right now, if it hasn't already beat its range and it's traded this much volume, it doesn't seem like the monster move for all this selling would occur today. I would actually anticipate that this could happen overnight or tomorrow in a big downwards move. I think that they're just spending a lot of today building these short positions. With that being said, I think the higher percentage trade, as we can see, there's more burst in these smaller term prints that are coming in on the ask side to build. And I think that there's a higher percentage chance to take this trade back up to 67 or 67.50 within the range of information versus hoping for that downward move, which just the personality of today hasn't shown that that's going to occur.
All right. I don't really
Well,
have much to say to you.
okay.
No, I mean I couldn't agree. But I mean, I would put more I wouldn't put 70-30. There's definitely a percentage of going into consolidation. But yeah, I mean, it's not much to say. It's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
The
Well,
only other thing that I would look at is that, so it would be a lot closer. So you said that 66 was way over print personality, right?
yeah, and then about a minute later, 6601 actually had about 11 bid prints, right above. It was all in one print. About a minute later, which was a really ballsy position to take that short right above 66. And it's kind of after those controlling prints in that 6601, it did pull up with that. So I think that 6601 could speak to time frame for that move happening today. But right now, right after that, it's been a lot of ask bursts that have come in right after that. And as we can see, it's kind of pulled up 50 cents from there.
Yeah, like I said, I agree. Now, the only other thing that I would look at, and you brought this up earlier, is the fact that the path of least resistance, this isn't going to get its range any higher by going up. Okay. Its range, obviously, would, to get any higher is going to need to go down. So I would look at it because there's a higher chance of it continuing up right now, just because, like you said, that personality that comes back in. But the trade itself to match the puzzle would technically be down. It just hasn't shown us that. So I want you to think about it. This possibility, what would it look like if the trade's going to go to the downside?
I actually, one thing that just came to my mind is to pull up to this orb line right below 67, push into it, not hit and trigger down. And although the logical answer that at some point pins is going to go to 65, I think the conservative is just back to the double bottom around 66, especially with time of day. And then we'll see what happens when we get more information there if that occurs.
Yeah, once again, I agree with you. But what is it going to look like? So if this is going to move, what's it going to look like? And I want you to not only tell me what the bar is going to look like, but I want you to add a few other things into it. So what would the
So
bar look like first off?
I think it's going to be around a 20 to 30% bar triggering down. I think the volume is going to be around 300,000, 300 to 350,000. And then the tape speed is going to be extremely fast. And we're going to see, just a lot of selling coming in. And I think coming down, we'll have to expect that around 66.50. We know that there's been some consolidation there in the past few minutes. And so we're going to have to anticipate that they could play some games there. And just look for more information there. I bet we would get a couple of bid prints and not get scared of maybe a minor pullback off those bid prints and then for it to continue down towards that 66.
Yeah, pretty much. Now, I have a question for you too. Why, since it's range and puzzle, so it's volume versus its range doesn't make sense. Why do I still believe the upside is the higher percentage trade? Or has been the higher percentage trade? Why? There's something about it. What is it?
Is it because is it anything to do with the daily chart, or is it just because it's although it's traded $3.84, a lot of the bars are relatively consolidated how it's been trading throughout the day, except for truly in the morning.
Yeah, so think about time of day. Okay, shake time is from 3 to 3:30. After 3:30, it kind of picks its direction of where it wants to go for the end of day, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so if we look, those big bid prints that came in 66 happened right during shake time, and then after shake time, now we went up. So
Okay.
that's a big variable to take into account is that time of day, because if it started going up at 3 to 3:30 and then started coming down at 3:30 to 4, now that changes things a whole bunch. The percentage chance of which way we're looking for it to go is going to change. But that's a big variable that we can add into something, is that since it's coming in, it's pushing. Now, this is, we laugh about this all the time, but if this stock is going to end up coming back down to 66, when's it probably going to happen?
Overnight.
Well, overnight, but if it happens today, it's probably going to be in the last 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, it's just gonna start running down.
Exactly. All of a sudden, you just see that last 10 minutes, you see that bar, people start selling out. And even in that case, I agree 100% with you. It wouldn't be 65 because 65 is too long of a price target. Not when a stock that's had this much volume has only moved $3.84. So there's no way in hell we're going to be able to expect it to move $2 in the last 15 minutes. It's just, it hasn't shown anything like that to tell us that that's even a possibility. So that's why our upside, like you said, it's higher. Derek, I mean, absolutely phenomenal. Perfect.
If it doesn't happen today, that big move down, it's definitely something I'll be watching in the morning because the puzzle just doesn't fit.
Oh, no, doesn't fit at whatsoever.
Yeah.
Within that range. But something else we want to look at is that the puzzle doesn't fit. But how's it trading today? Smooth or consolidated?
Consolidated.
It's trading very consolidated. So even in this case, the way that the stock's been moving, even though it's been slowly moving, they've had a lot of time to build today. It's absolutely a building day, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So because it's a building day, what does that now tell us too? And we've already decided that the higher percentage trade is to the upside because of everything that you went over already. Okay, but now we want to think about it. A consolidated stock. Okay, we really want a smooth trading stock if we were going to get that huge move down, because they're going to have to do it all at once. They've been doing this slowly all day. We can't just expect the end of the day for them to just change their complete mindset and their complete game plan and basically change the way that they trade. Yeah, so just something else to add, but I'm reaching here, Derek. I mean, you're on point.
Yeah. I know that Trevor talked about it, but if I was, if we were in a class right now, I'd be, looking at Blink again. Volume just came back in if we want to talk through that one again.
Yeah, there we go.
Just
good.
Derek, so I think with Blink,
keep going.
Oh, boom. I didn't see what got executed at 40. Did we get anything?
Let's see. Not that I can see.
So although we don't have controlling prints and the momentum is up, there's really nothing holding it at 40. And so what I'm going to be looking for here, it's not technically a 1 through 4 trade without controlling prints, but I would actually be looking for a short to the downside. Although there's momentum and everything that's looking and retail think it's going up, without having print at 40, without having prints at 40, 50, I think that the higher percentage trade here is to let it push into that double top, see what information we gather through that, and then take a short trade. I know that that's reaching a little bit. That's how I would perceive that trade. I'm not sure if that's true, but with having no controlling prints at 40 or 40, 50, and really just not tons of off-level buying within this move up in the last couple minutes, there's nothing really holding it above 40 here. It just seems like a lot of retail is kind of pushing this up, which is not sustainable for the time, and just waiting for somebody to come in and bring the stock back down.
Okay, so there's one thing that I would add that would make that different. So 40 right now, would that be perfect? Yeah, it's a hard level to hold when they weren't able. But we got to go back over to 40, and we have to look. Were they able to build here in 40?
Yes.
Yeah, so they were able to build. What do we also have at 41.85?
We have ask prints.
We have ask prints. Now, 41.85, what does that level mean to us? Why do I say that time frame easily could drive this past the high of day?
Just because the change in personality, how it's been trading since
those 41.85 are those controlling prints, or they
well,
short
that
term
speaks
prints?
to time frame. That says that market maker
There
is
we
going to
go.
make money today. He's not looking to build, and with the going to close, he's probably going to exit position today. And with taking that ballsy of a position right at the top, it actually, there's probably a higher percentage that it's going to break 41.
There we go. Yep. Just with those prints. We don't have those prints. I'm with you 100%. Now, it's also very peculiar that it would go into 40 again and not show us anything. So guess 40 is a psychological level. It's not an easy thing to be able to hold without getting there. But by having those shorter term prints from those upside, okay, as we come back down here, not only can I not short it, so I'm not even going to be looking for something there, but it's showing us shorter term. And shorter term tells us, but the biggest thing, like you said, is that right now, we don't really have anything good. We don't have any great shorter-term buying down here. And if it's going to break past 41, we should.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I guess I forgot to write down those prints at the high there, but that's true. But I mean, just now, it pushed into 40, 50, and just kind of without knowing about that order 85 and writing that down, I probably would have taken this, smaller shares, but taken that short as it pushed into 40, 50, didn't have any ask prints at 40, and shorted that below 40.
So from 40,
I don't know if you would have
50,
taken that trade,
no,
but
I
I
definitely
personally would have.
So I'm going to tell you right now why I definitely wouldn't have. Okay, we're coming into it's 3:45 in the afternoon. Okay, and if we're going to get that big move back up above 41, is this stock have any problem pushing to $3? Okay, right now.
No.
So
It
30
can
might
just
be a little
become
bit, but yeah.
parabolic.
So we don't have any problem. So if I take this short coming into there, okay, and now I'm set up going into 350. Am I going to have any chance of controlling my loss on this short if it goes against me?
No, I mean, you're going to be down
No. So
$1.50.
that's the reason I wouldn't take it. It's not because the stock didn't need to come under 40 a little bit. It's because my exposure would set me up for no chance. And not only no chance, but an infinite amount of money to the upside. Because technically the stock can run to 100. Is it likely? Absolutely not. But it still could. So if I take this short, is it worth, okay, what I have to look at from about 50 cents to $1, okay? 50 cents being real conservative, $1 really kind of showing, where from 40 it typically should move about that much because that's how much the increments are showing us. Is it worth 50 cents to lose $3?
No, not at all.
And
Never.
that's it. Because you know the movement. Without getting any type of buying or short-term buying around 40, it technically should come down. But the problem is once it comes down, if we get that buying that comes right back in, we are absolutely screwed.
Yeah, because just based off it's been trading the last hour, we know it can have $3 bars back to back from minute to minute, and that's asking for trouble there.
If it was 2:30, I would say something completely different. But now we're talking about it's after 3:45 now. after 3:45 with 15 minutes left in the day, we know that those big pushes come in those last 10 minutes all the time. And it's setting myself, it's not enough money to make to set myself up in that position where I'm not going to be able to control my loss.
Right.
Now, we're getting advanced here, but you're not leaving me much else to tell you. So,
well, yeah, I think that in the way my head would have processed it is kind of the reasoning I said before, and then I probably would have stayed in this trade and this is how I would have thought of it before, but then I'm starting to see this 39.61 and these little bursts of selling, and I think that I maybe would have gone into a psychological aspect where I wasn't thinking about maybe the probabilities versus and the risk to reward, and just kind of seeing the movement and although the trade worked out in my favor, it wasn't the highest percentage trade.
That's it. And that's what it comes down to. Not at this time, not especially when you have a great morning and you have everything coming in there. There's just not enough. Because like I said, this bar out of nowhere, right now, volume's doing nothing. So technically our possibilities are consolidation or big bars up, just like, for instance, right there. Okay. Yeah. So now you're talking about a stock, you're up 50 cents and now you're down, 15 cents in 10 seconds, not even 10 seconds, in 1 second. So we want, our exposure is always very important to think about, especially when you get to times like this. We don't want to leave ourselves in a position where we can't control what happens, because what's the number one key to being a successful trader?
Have to control your losses.
That's it. We got to control our losses. And this is just one of those stocks it's in that limbo. The higher percentage is up, and if it does go up, we're screwed. I mean, it's that simple. The bars are just too big.
Probably my biggest weakness as a trader, and still to this day after doing this for years, is having great mornings. And I think that I'm like, oh, I'm feeling good. And maybe I get lazier throughout the afternoon, but I find myself giving back large chunks of profit in the afternoon. And I don't know if that's because I'm getting cocky or greedy, but I find myself, taking trades, and I'll take trades that are larger because I think that I'm up and I'm, and so that's just something that I have to work on personally. But, this might have been a situation where I could easily have, given back a chunk of profits after.
Yeah, I mean, that has a lot to do with, the psychological aspect of it, because the biggest problem for most people in the afternoon is the fact they want to trade. If you're sitting at your computer, you want to trade. So you start seeing things in stuff that it's not that it's not necessarily there, but it's not putting you in a great position. Like I said, this one might have worked out today, but then the 7 out of 10 times that it pulls up on you, those are big losses, a big chunk that it's going to be taken out of your morning time.
Yeah.
And it's just not enough of a possibility to continue to go on. That's why the afternoons, a lot of times you sit there and it's like, there's just not much to do. You end up having to put your mouse in the drawer because, you want to trade. It's that simple. And there's just not going to be as much.
Get bored and click.
Mm-hmm.
And then there goes pins. It's coming back to 66 right now. Not exactly how we pushing into 67. I kind of wanted to see it push in more, but I think it gave a nice trigger. Volume has been consistent waxing, and here we are at 66. Big order there, 20,000 on the bid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So essentially, the pushing into 66 has no effect on this. Way too far. Really, what it did was it pulled up and it just triggered down. It triggered back towards our 66 prints, and a big part of that was what you said before. Is that 60:01 told us time frame.
Yeah.
So when they told us the time, and it was perfectly mapped out, because in this case, we're not going to look for 65. Stock hasn't shown that. We're going to look for it to just go right back to where the market maker showed us to build, because we know more than likely we're going to see some type of games, and we're going to have the swing traders coming in. We're going to have the day traders getting out, everything that's going back on. It's perfect case scenario. At the end of the day, over print personality, it's trading 50 cents. $1, perfectly okay with that.
Yeah. And one thing I just noticed for myself is, like, just between the two stocks I talked about, between Pinterest and Blink, I've been watching pins all day and reading the tape and following the prints. And the trade, if I would have taken it, I would have mapped it out extremely perfectly. That would have probably been around a 90 to 95% trade. And then Blink, I would have taken a 50% trade, because I just kind of pulled it up and saw movement and didn't really have as good of a game plan. And so I think that just is like, it's interesting for me to learn that about myself. I've never really noticed that, but just watching pins all day and knowing the story, obviously I'm going to have a better game plan, but I could just see the differences between the two versus just like pulling up a stock, seeing movement and wanting to get in on it versus watching a stock all day and waiting for the highest percent trade.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question behind that. You got to think if a market maker shows himself for 1 second versus watching them for 8 hours, there's a big difference there. So
Yeah.
there's absolutely no question because you get to start to learn how it's trading. When we talk about personality, a brand new stock comes up, we have to go based off of what we're seeing just off a chart. When you're watching the prints with the chart the entire day, you're always going to have a better, be in a better situation. I mean, it's just because you're watching it as it's happening. It's that screen time that comes in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No question.
Well, it's 251, and at this point, something would have to be really crazy for me to get into.
Yeah, at this point, we call it a day. But Derek, absolutely phenomenal job. Very good. I mean, you're on point. I don't really have to do much. It's just one thing that with yourself is just that you're there. There's just little intricacies. Okay, just little bit of things that you tweak just a little bit, you'll see your trading just drastically change. You know how to do this. You don't need to learn how to, more about how to do this. It's just the little things that we have to take all in and put them together. But absolutely phenomenal job.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Rich, for the feedback and just kind of everything that you do for us. We're very thankful, and I'm very appreciative of everything you do. So thank you, sir.
I appreciate that. It's my pleasure. All right, guys, do we have any questions? So remember, tomorrow there is no class. I want you guys to focus on everything that we've done this week and what I did and then what we've done with the student teaching. And then Tuesday of next week, we will finish up with our level 3. And if we need a following day, we will go from there. But you know what? I am very impressed with our first day. You guys are on point. You're learning it. I mean, there's just a little tweaks, but guess what? Those all come over time. I'm very, very impressed. So absolutely phenomenal job, all 4 of you. All right, guys. So that is it for me. I'll talk to everyone in the chat and happy trading.